In this episode, we're going to review the Adventure Medical Kit's Ultralight Watertight Medical Kit .9. This is a very simple, straightforward, lightweight, inexpensive first aid kit. For those of you that maybe don't even have a first aid kit, if you're a boater and you don't have a first aid kit, this is a great place to start. Or if you have a bigger kit like me, I have this bigger kit. I love this. It has all the tools I like based on my experience and my training for what I think happens on the river. But it's a little bit bulky, so I always bring this rafting, but sometimes kayaking, I forget to take it from my rafting bag and put it in the back of my kayak. This is something that I can still put in my kayak. I'm going to choose to put it in a dry bag, but it's small and simple. I can move it from kayak to kayak really easily, so I always have something. So it comes in this really cool bag. It's a durable bag. The bag itself is not waterproof. It's water resistant-ish. If you wanted to, you could clip this in the back of a kayak or something, or clip it in a raft. If you wanted to, I would suggest, again, putting it in some sort of dry bag to protect it. The bag itself isn't waterproof, but inside there's two little waterproof Ziplocs. And so there's these two Ziplocs. They're basically, fancier than Ziplocs. So I would say more durable. They're a little more waterproof than a Ziploc. I use Ziplocs in there to keep stuff dry, but these are even better. And the contents are really interesting. I think they're really well thought out. There's a few changes I want to make. And I want to let you know that I'm not a doctor. I'm not a wilderness first aid instructor. I've taken some warfare courses. I have some knowledge and I have some experience. I'm going to share with you my thoughts based on my limited training and knowledge. You should talk to a doctor or a professional to get better advice than this, but I'm going to share with you what I think. So these things come with some different things. First of all, there's a bunch of gauze here in case somebody's bleeding a lot. So if somebody gets a big cut kayaking, there's a lot of gauze and a lot of good stuff for that. I've had a few good cuts kayaking. I took a paddle between my eyes once, and I got a big gash in my wrist here one time kayaking. So it can happen, and this stuff has been invaluable when that happened. So first of all, it comes with a syringe. If you put purified water in here or something else, you can clean your injury out, which is really important. So the syringe, I think, is really important. It also comes with a ton of gauze. Again, if something's bleeding a lot, you want to keep putting gauze on it. And so by volume, the majority of the stuff in here is gauze, which is great because if you have that big cut, you definitely want gauze. There's this wraparound gauze. There's also some Band-Aids. There's only 5 Band-Aids. I'd probably throw a few more in there. Knuckle Band-Aid, which is kind of cool. Some alcohol prep pads, more knuckle Band-Aids. Some antiseptic towelettes, which are probably nice for cleaning your hands or whatever. And then something I think is really important, wound closure strips. So I've had a few big cuts where it probably required stitches, but in the field, we're not going to stitch something up. Either we don't have experience in the equipment. This is sort of a temporary stitching. So hopefully you know how to use them. If you don't, maybe Google it. But this is a great way. Like when I cut my hand really bad here, we used them to kind of close the wound after we irrigated it. Sort of invaluable. So a lot of great stuff for if you have some sort of wound, which is something that can happen in the field and something you can handle well with good equipment and training. There's more stuff, though, in this other bag. There's afterbite insect sting relief. This is like if you get stung by something to feel better. I'm going to take it out. I think that's kind of useless. There's some more antiseptic towelettes. That's kind of cool. Alcohol prep pads. There are some long Q-tips, which I'm not really even sure what they're for. So I'm going to take them out. They might be for this. This is tincture of benzoin. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not exactly sure what this is used for. There's 2 little things, vials of it. Here's another vial somewhere. Maybe it's a little bit of an antiseptic, but it's really good for if a wound is really wet, it dries it out and makes it sticky. So gauze sticks. I've never seen it used. I've never heard of it being used. For whatever reason, it's in first aid kits. I'm going to take that out too. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. There's a very small elastic bandage in case you want to wrap somebody's wrist up or fingers or ankle. So it's really small, it's minimal, but this is a minimal kit. So it's really nice to have something to help with some sort of immobilizing some sort of injury. There's a pair of gloves. I'd probably throw more gloves in there. I think that's important. A nice roll of medical tape, cloth tape, nice size. I think this is pretty crucial for a lot of things, especially if you have to splint. There is aspirin, which you're going to want in a first aid kit. There's more aspirin. There's diphenhydramine, which is basically Benadryl. So if somebody has an allergic reaction, this is something you might want to give them. And so a pretty crucial part of a first aid kit. Diphenhydramine. Ibuprofen, crucial, as you all know. And acetaminophen, which is basically Tylenol. And so some good medications. There's 3 of these safety pins. I'm not sure why they're here, what they're for. I'm probably going to leave them out. They're kind of silly. Comes with some duct tape to do some repairs. I'm going to bring something else from repairs I'll talk about in a second, so I probably won't bring this little cute little thing of duct tape. It's a really cool tweezers. I love these tweezers. They're really good. They're sharp pointed. They're really good for getting a splinter out. Also potentially maybe removing a tick. So I'm a big fan of the tweezers it comes with. And moleskin in case you get blisters, which for paddling isn't a big thing, but it's pretty small and minimal. And this particular one, you can it's already kind of cut, so you can pull out the pieces you want from the sheet. You don't need scissors for this. So I don't know. For kayaking, I'm not sure we need it, but not bad. So really useful stuff. I would say mostly good for cuts and bruises and scrapes. There's some medications there for some basic things. Not a lot for splinting if somebody breaks an arm, breaks a wrist, but some basic stuff for that stuff. And it was some training. You can use other things you have with you for some splinting, hopefully. So that's the contents. I think it's a good thing for all paddlers to have this. So again, I'm going to recommend everybody has at least a first aid kit like this. This thing costs 45 bucks. It weighs 8 ounces, half a pound. It doesn't take up much space. If you don't have a first aid kit, great way to go. Or if you have a first aid kit like this and you don't always bring it because it's a little bit bigger or even bigger than this is a good, just quick one to throw in that's simple. But I do want to share a few things I would add to the kit. So I removed a few things I thought were superfluous. I don't know how to pronounce that word. But I want to add a few things I think are helpful. A little CPR mask. These things are tiny little things. This is the smallest one you can get. As paddlers, we should have CPR masks. It can go in your first aid kit or in your PFD. Either one's fine. I'm going to add some kind of tear aid. Type A or Type B, probably Type A. This is good for repairing rafts. It can repair your kayak. It can repair your dry suit. It's minimal. I throw a little bit of tear aid in everything, so I'd like to have tear aid for repair. Instead of duct tape, I'm going to bring tear aid. Way, way, way better. Along with that, I'm going to bring some trauma shears. Trauma shears will help to cut the tear aid to get the size you want, but you can cut clothes off of somebody. You can cut other things that you need. Maybe you want to cut this moleskin to a different size. It's really nice to have trauma shears. You could use your river knife, but get a super minimal, lightweight pair of trauma shears. It doesn't weigh much, doesn't take up much space, super helpful. Advil. It does come with Advil, but Advil is something we commonly use. It just gets used a lot. Somebody may use your Advil and then you have none for that. You forget to replace it, you have none. These little packets are pretty cheap and simple. I would put more Advil in here. It just comes with 2. I put more in there. And then lastly, I really like Tagaderm. This is an occlusive dressing. Tagaderm is the brand. There's other brands. It's just a little tiny clear Gore-Tex-y thing you can put over cuts. So my example, I had a really bad cut here on a kayaking trip once, really deep. We took the irrigator, we irrigated to clean it out really well. We put steri strips on it, but I still had to kayak a few more days and it was gonna get wet all the time, and which was gonna take the steri strips off and possibly get it infected. This is a clear thing you put over the top that just keeps it waterproof basically. And it still can breathe, but it keeps, when the water splashes on it, it keeps the wound kind of protected. So I'm a massive fan of this. I actually use it quite a bit. It's rarely in first aid kits because it's kind of expensive. This is a $45 first aid kit. If you threw one of these in, it would be a $50 first aid kit. So I would personally add this to this kit as well. So those are my thoughts. I really like this as a simple kit. I'm gonna start carrying this in my hardshell kayaks for day runs. On an overnight run, I'm bringing this. But for day runs, this is gonna live in my hardshell kayak. Again, if you don't have any first aid kit, at least get this. And I'll put a link down below here. You can buy it on Amazon. I get a commission if you do that. Thank you if you do. If you don't, not a big deal. But Adventure Medical Kits has some different ones. So there's a bigger size of this. There's smaller sizes. I think this is a good in-between size if you want to get just a first aid kit for your trips. So that's it for this review. That's it for this episode. If you have things that you would add to this kit, like I had some ideas, if you have ideas, if you have thoughts about first aid kits, please share them in the comments. This is how I learn. This is how everybody learns. So again, like these are my thoughts with my level of knowledge and training, but please add your thoughts in the comments and like, subscribe. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.